You gotta follow Gary Vee, not to become wealthy, not to become successful, to figure out how to live your life.
Can I jump in right now?
Go ahead.
Something just happened that I'm like obsessed with. Not to be wealthy, check, fully agree. Not to be successful. That one is probably going to be my next 50 years. If we can somehow, and you said it, if we can somehow redefine success in popular culture, we will change this fucking world.
Well, what killed me...
Because, like you said, I know you agree with me. And I think words matter, back to eloquence and like semantics. If we can redefine success to waking up and being calm. Do you know how many people wake up?
Happy, excited.
Yeah, happy, joyful, calm. Like, man, if I could just eliminate the anxiety of the world around dumb shit, the shit that people are anxious about.
But not only anxious about, unhappy about. You know, when in traditional radio, which barely exists anymore, the term
we're doing it right now. It's just called, it's new.
Yeah, but hump day.
Yes.
You know that term.
Of course, Wednesday.
Hump day is Wednesday, which is halfway through the shit you don't want to do. You get to the weekend just so you don't have to do the shit you don't want to do.
One of my most successful posts in the history of my 15-year content career was, if you live for the weekends, your shit is broken.
Right.
And because school was a disaster for me. And when I tell you, Friday was, do you know, I should have been a weatherman. Howie?
Why?
When I tell you that when there was a potential snow day, I turned into literally a scientist. I knew everything. I mean, the Doppler radar was the most, I probably had a poster of the Doppler radar in my high school. Like, I disliked school so much that I would live for Friday at 3 p.m. Lived for it. And that was fine, and I understood that. And then somewhere in my 30s, when this all started happening, I was like, wait a minute. Because then I went into my happy zone, a grown-up, and lived.
Right.
I was like, wait a minute. This is how most people live their life?
Yeah.
This is not sustainable. I knew I was getting out at some point. This is what people are doing for 50 years. And that got me passionate, and that's why I talk about what I talk about.
But is it a problem with people and individuals, or our society and businesses and culture and the way that corporations and work, maybe the older generation, look at the way you're supposed to?
Number one, your point is amazing, and I know where you're going, and I'm a buyer.
Yeah.
I'm just obsessed with human accountability.
It's so hard, though, for the younger generation to go in there and be like, I want to value.
Everything is hard.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be.
Life is like, I love where this is a very interesting topic because I'm a buyer. I love America. I'm an entrepreneur. I love capitalism, but when things go too far, it's not good. Like, to your point, popular culture of what's good and what's successful. Like, I'm like such a buyer of like, what do we put out in culture, right? But I also think it goes both ways. Let me explain. So where you're going, I'm such a buyer of. If it's pounded in our face constantly, this is what success looks like, it's hard. On the flip side, we do things like give 8th place trophies to kids now because we think that's the right thing to do. Like, we're always as a society going to get into places where we go too far left, too far right, which is why the first part matters, which is if you don't have the capacity to be humanly accountable to you. Here's a good example, back to fatherhood and kids. Your parents told you things, the world told you things. There are things that you decided to do differently.
Right.
The end. So just because the world's telling you a fucking Gucci belt is the right thing, well, I'm telling you it's not. So who are you going to listen to? This person or that person? There is always a counter voice. And a lot of counter voices. There's unlimited people that tell you money's horrible. Well, and corporations are horrible. To me, this is an important point. I think this is very big because I don't think there's right. I think there's right for you. And the more that we give the power away and blame parents, corporations, social media, this, that, and the other thing, the further we're getting away from the truth, which is we're capable. I believe in humans.
You just hit it, though. That's my problem. My problem is you have to know that you are responsible. Listen, as somebody who's really deep into mental health.
Yes.
You are responsible for your own well-being. You really are. Nobody else is. You're responsible for your own happiness. If somebody else is making you unhappy, that's just how you are reacting. That person, you can't change that person.
That's right.
You can only change how you react to that person. And all the divisiveness that we have in our world now, politically and socially, is because people go, well, we hate them. You know what they're doing? This is why I can't afford. This is why I'm not up there. This is why I'm not happy.
And that doesn't take away systematic truths. Like, well, when you go off the gold standard, when there's a bigger separation of wealth, like I'm not an absolutist. I'm very purple when it comes to a lot of these conversations. I don't find myself very red or blue.
No, either do I.
And so to your point, I believe in everything you said, comma, there's also other macro circumstances, right? Like there's a million things that go on in life. Here's my thing though. The second you decide that you can't, it's over.
That's my point.